Bass Agenda presents Spacelab.
Hi everyone, welcome to Spacelab, a new podcast presented by Bass Agenda that explores the history of old school electro and hip hop. My name's Billy Proctor and I'm joined today by co-host Phil Klein, also known as Bass Junkie, an electro musician in his own right. As it's our first episode, we thought it would be good to introduce ourselves to listeners and to explain why Spacelab and why now. I'm an associate professor at Bournemouth University in the UK, and my academic interest in old school electro came about when I recognised that a detailed history of the genre had not yet been written, whether in academic circles or in the popular press. I'm sure listeners will agree that this is an oversight that needs to be addressed, especially given that electro was given little recognition last year during the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. So I started researching the topic at the beginning of 2023 that will help inform a book I'm planning to write, tentatively titled When Boom Reigns Supreme, The Rise and Fall of Electro Hip Hop. The idea for the podcast came about when I began interviewing people about the history of electro, the genre's relationship with hip hop and other genres like funk, synth pop, disco and so on. Like all music, electro is a hybrid genre built from bits and pieces of other music. Phil was actually the first person I interviewed and we hit it off immediately. I also interviewed Bass Agenda's Andy Barton and we began to chat regularly. Massive thanks to both Andy and Phil for their encouragement and support, and thanks to Andy for suggesting that we produce this podcast as a Bass Agenda sister show. It's been a thoroughly enjoyable journey discussing the history of electro with Andy and Phil, sharing tunes and thoughts on an almost daily basis. Thanks also to Kurt Bagley, also known as Skate One, who is quite frankly a veritable encyclopedia, not only of electro, but electronic music in general. Props also to Andy Jaggers, Billy Bunter and Mark Archer of Alternate. These guys are so passionate and energetic about electro, it's been a joy to listen to their stories. I've also been honoured and privileged to speak to many electro artists in 2023, including musicians like The Unknown DJ, The Egyptian Lover, Dave Stores, Man Parish, Cosmo D and many more. The initial idea for this podcast came about because I was hearing so many great stories from these pioneers that I thought it would be better to create a podcast so other fans in the electro community could also hear and learn more about the history of the genre that we all love and cherish. I'd also like to thank all the electro heads from back in the day who were willing to open up and tell their stories about venturing out in the streets with cardboard and Lionel to learn how to breakdance. What has been truly fascinating about this project is how widely electro penetrated the UK in the 1980s, something that makes it even more confusing how little of the history has been documented, thanks to each and every one of you. What about you, Phil? Why did you agree to collaborate on the podcast? Because I think I put you on the spot one time, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, but it sounded exciting to me. I mean, it's a good way for me to catch up with some of the people I know through, making the music myself. So like Egyptian Lover, obviously, and Scratch D, Dave Noller of Dynamics 2, and others that we're hoping to get on the podcast. It just sounded like something I could do in my free time that's fun, and I can maybe try and draw some stories out of them because maybe I can get that little bit of extra out of them,
Yeah, well, I mean, you did put me in touch with the Egyptian Lover, and I was speaking to him by email, but he wouldn't speak. But when you asked him to come on the podcast, he came on because you know each other, so that's so your help's greatly appreciated, and we have fun doing this.
Yeah, that was a really good one, wasn't it? Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to Egypt, talk to everyone. It's all been good, and I can't wait to get on with some more as well when we have the time. Obviously, this is it's a time issue, isn't it, for both of us? It's a passion for us both, and long may it continue.
Yeah, we both have jobs, obviously, and but our jobs conflict in the sense that I work during the day and you work at night time.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So when did you first get into electro? Like, I mean, was it that it was around about the same time as me, wasn't it, in the early 80s?
Yeah, it would have been 83 when I first purchased the Electro One, Morgan Carnes Street Sounds label Electro One compilation. My cousin played it to me in my car, my mum's car once. We picked him up and goes, Phil, you got to hear this. And he was always had his finger on the pulse, my cousin. He was about a year and a half younger than me, but he was always in the know about what was fresh, you know. And he played me that, and I was just hooked immediately. I was like, I've got to get that. I remember going out to the shops, probably W.H. Smith's in Woking, and picking up a copy and playing it to death. Taking it into school. It was one of those last days of the school term, and I remember I brought my mum's little like cassette playing radio, little boom box. I was playing that, and loads of kids coming around like, "What is this music? Like, this is great." And I was like, "Yeah, it's Electro One." I remember I'd listened to it on my Walkman all the night before, trying to learn the words, and so I was just showing off a bit. But I was hooked immediately, and so were lots of my friends, and we all like sort of formed a little bit of a loosely called it a b-boy crew. We all started getting into that, trying to break dance, and all the things that kids did back then. So yeah, I mean, it was from that point. Buying the compilations, obviously, listening to Mike Allen on Capital Radio, where he had his show every Friday and Saturday.
Right.
I couldn't really get LWR, couldn't reach that one, but some of my friends at school could tune into that, and so we'd swap tapes. I'd sit there recording it, pause button, ready for the next track. And then when I found out about Groove Records in London, Soho, I would go there as well. My cousin took me there first. He'd been there already and went down there, and they're shopping for all the imports, the stuff that I'd hear being played, and started buying the vinyl 12s of the tracks that were on the compilations, because it was cool because, you'd only hear like the the A side. Like when you went and bought the track, there'd be like maybe a B side that's an instrumental or a dub mix, or there'd be another track on there that you'd never heard. You'd get all these extra little mixes, and I'd be like, oh my God, there's this other stuff as well. So I got addicted to going to London whenever I could. When I get the money together and get some friends to come with me, we'd go up there and spend our money on imports, and then, maybe have a bit of a day out with it as well, and then head back and all excited, all the shrink wrapped 12-inch, or the albums and that, things like that. I remember, just being a really exciting time. So I was just hooked immediately from the start. More electro sounding hip hop than the hip hop, the less electronic stuff. But I loved it all. I loved it all.
Were you someone who ripped the shrink wrap off, or did you just carefully cut into the side?
I would rip it off eventually. Yeah, sacrilege. Yeah, some people did. I mean, it would just get ruined anyway. Eventually, some of them I kept on because they had cool stickers on them as well.
Yeah.
And I used to have them all in crates. My records, as the collection got bigger and bigger. It was on the floor in my bedroom, and I remember the cat would come in. And I'd wake up and I'd hear this clawing, and it would be clawing the tops of the records. And so lots of the tops of my records all had like claw marks where the cat had attacked them. So the shrink wrap would have come off anyway. But yeah, I just ripped it off. That's all gone. It would have been wise to keep it on. But
I'll rip it off now because it would turn into just like crinkled cling film in the end, wouldn't it?
There's that as well, and especially when you're DJing, and because I eventually started DJing as well, because I had quite a few, and I was like, well, I'd like to get into DJing. It's something I can do. We've got the records, and so I did that, and I think pulling them in and out of the crate all the time, that would have just come off. You've got to put them inside another sleeve, really, if you want to keep them like pristine. And if you gig in with them, they just get. I mean, mine are in pretty good nick considering.
Yeah,
they're not too bad.
If you're DJing, you need to get your record quite quickly, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if you've got perfect sleeves on and then another sleeve and then all of that, it's going to get wrecked.
Yeah, it's just going to get ruined. Yeah, exactly. So it would have happened, whatever.
So when you're talking about like introducing the music to your friends and everyone's blown away, this is at the time it's like something you'd never heard before.
Yeah. Definitely. I'd never heard anything like it. I mean,
What was it in particular that you thought, like, what was it that attracted you to it?
Sounds from outer space. It sounded like it was like, robots in the future and, outer space travel. And the vocoders in there and the synthesizers, and it was all mysterious. And, and there was real nice funkiness to it as well that was there. The 808 just sounds so good always in an electro. And then the DMX2 or other drum machines they were using. It's just the way the drum patterns were, played, the synthesizers, the vocoders, the scratching. I mean, I love scratching in tracks as well. So all of those elements were there. I mean, I'd heard a couple of tracks before Electro. I'd heard The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and I loved that. And I'd heard Buffalo Girls, Malcolm McLaren, and the famous Supreme Team. So I'd heard those, but I hadn't really pieced anything together. And then when Electro 1 came out, I was just like, this whole sort of thing started to form. And then obviously I was listening to the radio, and it was just like everything came together. It was like a perfect storm. And I was just immediately hooked. And that was it. And I've never stopped. Electro has been with me ever since.
Yeah, I think it's interesting about the sounds of the future and all of that, because there's kind of a relationship between electro music and science fiction, I think. And we're Star Wars kids, really, right?
Of course.
So around about that time, you had Star Wars, Star Trek had come back from the dead, really, and it was on the cinema. So
and you had video game explosion. You had arcades with great video games were coming out around that time. All those space sounds when you're playing them. And it's like, remember there was one called Gorfian. Do you remember Gorfian?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
yeah, like those sort of things. I was always attracted to it. So then a music came along that's like, it's sort of it encompasses that as well. It uses some of those sounds, and I was just like, that's it for me. Like this is the one. So I was from that point onwards,
And you are the Bass Junkie. So when did you realize that you wanted to create your own music, and how? Like, when did you start doing that?
I started in '87, so about a year after I started DJing, because my neighbour at the time, when my parents had moved home, and we all moved to this house, and the guy who they were divorced, he didn't live there, was the manager of Shack Attack, and he had a record label called Debut Records and Scratch Music or something like that. And he had a studio nearby where I live now in St Anne's Hill, which is where Keith Moon of The Who lived. And also Vince Clarke of
Erasure.
Depeche Mode. Yeah, he's moved now, but he was living there as well on the same strip. And he set his son up, who was about a year younger than me, because I'd started DJing and his son had come around and seen me DJ, and I was, scratching and everything, because I used to actually be able to do that sort of stuff. I can't do it at all now, just useless. But I tried recently to show my son, and it was just embarrassing. So I just sort of thought, I'm not going to bother doing that anymore. But he wanted to do that. So his dad set him up with a little DJ sort of setup, which wasn't Technics or anything. It was just like the bog standard with the lights on, one sort of piece, 2 turntables thing, bit cheesy. But then he set him up with like a little home studio. And I got invited over. I said, he said, do you want to come over and try and make a track? And I was just like, yeah, definitely. And he was charging like really cheap rates because he wanted to learn as well. So it was a learning curve for him. And I went over there with like a bag of like 30 records or something. And I just wanted to do a sample track, I'd heard Dynamics 2 do, and Mars with Pump Up the Volume, that sort of style. I was going to nick bits of this and that. And I've worked it all out in my head. So we just took to sampling little bits and programming a drum machine. And that's what we did. And that first track, it never got finished by me, but he took it into the studio, where the professional studio, where his dad and his people working there, and they took it apart and produced it. And they sent it back to me and said, hey, Phil, do you want to put this out? You can put it out. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what do I get for it? Oh, you don't get anything, but we'll put it out for you. I was like, oh, okay. It's like that, is it? And I didn't really like the track. It was a bit poppy, a little bit, too repetitive. And I wanted scratching in there and like it to be a bit tough and, harder. And it wasn't. And I said, oh, it's okay. Leave it. Thanks. My sister still has a copy of it, funnily enough. But, and then I did a couple of other tracks with him. And eventually I realised it was harder and harder for me to get into the studio with him, because he'd moved then to the St Anne's Hill location, had a room there. He had a Fairlight in there. He had some amazing kit. Wow. So we went there. But it was like, I need to get this done myself. I need to set myself up at home so I can get all the ideas I have in my head out and laid down. And that's what worked best for me. Once I got the gear and learned how to use it, which took a while, But I bought a lot of stuff that I didn't even need because I was looking at what he had.
Right.
I wasted a lot of money on stuff that I shouldn't have bothered with, but I should have just started afresh, forgot about the projects I'd done with him and started again. Should have just bought an SP1200 and gone with that, but I didn't know. I didn't really know anyone apart from him, and he wasn't really forthcoming with information and just what he had. So I tried to copy, and then, I wasted a lot of money doing that, but,
But this was a time before, like, anyone who gets into electro now, any young kids and want to make music, they've got it all at their fingertips, right?
Well, yeah, and it's all, you can look up stuff on the internet. I mean, there was no internet back then. It was like, I just who you knew, and my friend who I wanted to do it with, who was my DJ partner at the time, he was interested. We were going into the studio sessions together, but he kind of like drifted off in the end. And he was like, I'm not really that fussed about making music. So I was on my own, really. And with my neighbour, who we weren't really good friends, my neighbour and me, but, we were friendly. But, so it's kind of like I just had to jump in the deep end, or else I was never going to do it. I had to make that leap. And after buying all the stuff, and I started meeting a new circle of friends who ended up, most of them being DJs, and we started this Fear Teachers parties. We were doing raves every weekend in the woods, illegal raves, like big in 91. This is,
yeah.
And I met loads of DJs and people who wanted to do music through that. And another guy, a good friend of mine, Jim Neen, who I do Middlemen, a project I do with him. And he had a setup, and his friend Andy had a setup, and they were like really good at teaching me techniques on how to get the best out of the equipment that I had. And that's how I got into making my own music eventually, because they were knowledgeable, but I wasn't.
I guess it's the same if you play any instrument, when I started, I play guitar. When I started to play guitar, there wasn't no internet as well. There's no YouTube to learn.
No.
So you meet someone who can show you a few chords, and and you learn probably wrong.
Yeah, probably. Habits, but you pick things up along the way, don't you? You learn by your mistakes a lot of the time. So I would do things wrong, and then I'd realise I bodged it, and then I'd go back and then I'd do that right, and I wouldn't do that bodge again.
Right.
That's kind of how I learn, and I'm pretty bad for picking things up. I don't like the learning process of the music making. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to that. I'm really hard working with the music, but I've always got things going on in my head that I need to get out, and I need to be recorded. It's like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And it's kind of like, it just spills out of my brain. So I'm not looking at all the new kits that's coming out because I can't always buy it. Lots of people I follow on Facebook, friends on Facebook, or friends, making music. They're always got something new and they're buying this machine. I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. But, I'm quite happy with what I've got, and I know how to use, I'm that sort of guy. Make the best of what I have.
But if you still know, make it the show after show. Still be in the battle, just a whiz, kid, and glow. I'm persistent to make sure you're ready to party, and you can take it from me because I am somebody. If you know to rock and roll, and it's a feeling show. Then come on and get yourself a bunch more to come. Now stick to the beat like chewing gum. And if you don't know the words of the song, just hum. Cause I'm an MC, popping with the beat of the drum. And the best is a must where I come from. And never less a landmark in history. Hip hop Hollywood for a fella like me. It's the music capital of New York City. I'm talking about the beat that is from the Bronx. People scream and you don't stop to the beat. Come on, you don't stop. Louder to the beat, you don't stop. You're talking about power, baby, that's what I'm all about. To the beat, hey, you don't stop. Nevertheless, try to jiggle it up and make it better. To the beat, hey, you don't stop. Because this beat is from the Bronx. From the Bronx, that's BRONX. The place that taught the whole world about the word fresh. For all the other competition, it's like Russian roulette. Because they never really know what will come up with next. We produce the juice for the fresh dance steps. Name tags that brag and attract the press. Other countries are impressed by our treasure chest. And what you think is our roughest is nothing yet. New York is the big apple all around. But the Bronx has the juiciest bite in town. Party quality is best, put us in the test. Don't be like the rest and become obsessed, trying to beat the track record that we have set. But don't stop, no, don't start to sweat, because I got 30 more moves you got to get to the beat, y'all. This from the Bronx, people sing, and you don't stop to the beat. Hey, you don't stop, scream to the beat. You don't stop. You're talking about power, baby, that's what I'm all about. To the beat, ha, you don't stop. But nevertheless, try to triple it up and make it better. To the beat, you don't stop, because this beat is from the Bronx. I'm the reason MC Humpty Dumpty fell, along with 30 other rappers with clientele. So the New York Jack, who should have stayed in his box when he knows I invented the MC pop. Then everyone in Jack's crew called Jack a fool. He was lacking the knowledge from the book of the old school. People are always talking about a globe and whiz kid. Keep your party people going like we always did. And make people scream and say, oh yeah, when you hear this side play on the air, with the starters of the fad, best you ever had. And we all boogie down to the latest sound. We started where your others can never begin. No hard feelings, y'all, so we're going to win. But nevertheless, try to triple it up and make it better with this beat. This from the Bronx, beat, sing, and you don't stop to the beat. You don't stop to the beat. Hey, you don't stop. We're talking about power, baby, that's what I'm all about. To the beat, you don't stop. But nevertheless, try to triple it up and make it better. To the beat, ha, you don't stop, because this beat is from the Bronx. This beat is from the Bronx. Yes, this beat is from the Bronx. This beat is from the Bronx. Now money means skill from on top of the hill, where everything is real and you speak what you feel. While the axe with the wax and the sizzling tracks were always shocking the park with the DJ scratch a group of the beat tough and a winner at craps. And for all the young ladies, I had the ultimate track. You know, things like this and things like that to be the center of attention, cause that's where I'm at. You know it started here, the hip hop cheers, the well-known vocabulary of the Bronx peers. Peace to all your other boroughs who like to borrow what we have in store for your world of tomorrow. Just remember, the master never reveals all the tricks. That's why you'll probably never be able to rock like this and make the best of the beat for entertainment, because this beat is from the Bronx. People sing, and you don't stop to the beat. Hey, you don't stop, scream to the beat. You don't stop. You're talking about power, baby, that's what I'm all about. To the beat, ha, you don't stop. But nevertheless, try to triple it up and make it better. To the beat, you don't stop, because this beat is from the Bronx.
So going on to the episode, our first guest on Spacelab is one that most listeners will know, Phil, from Breakdance the Movie, or Breakin as it's known in the US. He's a pioneer of street dance, he's a legend, definitely an icon, and it's Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers, although listeners will probably know him as Turbo. And he didn't disappoint at all, did he, Phil?
No, he didn't. Yeah, he spoke to us for ages, didn't he?
Yeah, about 2.5 hours when we met him.
Wow.
He was a ball of manic energy, wasn't he? He was
Yeah.
a passionate advocate for education, for hip hop, most of all dancing. He was, excuse me, he was just so passionate. It was unbelievable to talk to him, and because he was someone who I loved from like a very young age. It was very bizarre at the same time, and bizarre meeting one of your heroes,
Yeah, of course.
and hearing them talk. And of
Yeah.
course, Breakdance the Movie was one of the conduits that delivered hip hop into the UK. Many of the people I've interviewed so far, especially in the UK, refer to the film as a eureka moment. Buffalo Gals by Malcolm McLaren was another one, as you mentioned earlier, Phil.
Yeah.
Especially the music video with the world's famous Supreme team. Can you remember when you first saw Breakdance the Movie, Phil?
Yeah, I do. I was, I think I mentioned to you recently, I think on the Dave Noller interview, actually, where I was skating a lot in those days, because skating and b-boying and listening to that kind of music was a whole thing, especially around here. And we had Thorpe Park just up the road, and I would be there every day pretty much through the summer holidays. And we all went, loads of skaters. We went to the cinema, which is in Staines, which is not far away from there, which is where Ali G comes from in his character.
Yeah.
And we went down there. I think we all got the bus, went to see it, and were mind blown. Like, we just came back. Everyone was breaking on the side of the skating rink or in the skating rink. Like, we did that anyway. But, everyone was just totally blown away by it. And it was great. The music was great. I mean, I was just recently looking on what was on the soundtrack again to refresh my memory. So many good tunes on there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Reckless, which is the one everyone, remembers. But, there's Shaka Khan on there. I Feel For You, wasn't it? And
Nobody.
Ain't Nobody, yeah, that's right. I saw it was Ain't Nobody, that's right. And what's the other one? There's the Bar Caves with Freak Show on there.
Great tune, yeah.
Yeah, and some other. What's the other one?
Heart of the Beat's my favourite.
Heart of the Beat. Which one's that one? God, I won't make you sing it.
It's a booming away throughout it. It's kind of, I think it's one of the first freestyle songs, really.
Yeah.
By 3V, but it was never released as a 12.
Oh, was it not?
It was only only on the album.
Ah, that's annoying, isn't it? They did that with what's the film? The other one, Beat Street, which I love. Beat Street, that's my favourite of them all.
Yeah,
that one they didn't put out Battle Cry on a 12.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, it's a real shame. So I love that track as well.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
I know some people like to disrespect the film nowadays, but I still love it.
Oh yeah, it's got its moments, and you got Ice-T in there doing his thing, which is great, and you got the b-boying moments, and you got the music. There is a cheesiness to it. I mean, there's a cheesiness to all of those films back then, but I think Beat Street's a little bit more hardcore, isn't it?
Well, it should have been much more hardcore.
Originally. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
because it's not as. I mean, if you remember in Beat Street, Ramo's really he does out an abandoned property for his wife to live in, and he's put spray paint on the walls, so there is sense of this urban deprivation going on.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I think it was supposed to be much harsher in its original form.
Yeah, it was. I read the not the whole script, but the synopsis. I say was online a while back, and I was just reading that and how the guy who wrote it wanted it to be, and they did change it quite a lot, didn't they, to make it more, I think, universally friendly and for like kid.
Yeah, more commercial.
Friendly. Yeah, more commercial. Yeah.
Well, there's a nostalgia that I have about the original Breakdance movie that I can't deny, but I also think the film's got a lot to say. If we think back to when rap first came on the scene with Rapper's Delight, so this is 1979, most critics and listeners thought it was merely a novelty record, so a hit 1 minute, gone the next. No one's going to be releasing any rap songs. And over the next few years, there were other rap records, but I think most of what there were, we might describe as disco rap.
Yeah,
they weren't sampling yet. They were using live
band tracks.
Disco tracks.
Yeah,
but then Planet Rock hits.
Of course, and the game changer.
Yeah, that's what Rick Rubin said. It changed the whole game. But in general terms, I don't think rap. Well, definitely rap wasn't viewed as serious music. And in Breakin, I think we can see a tension between proper dance, and I'm putting scare quotes for proper, like that guy Franco, the creep who tries to assault Kelly. Really, he's like a contemporary dance class that Kelly goes to, and then on the other hand, you've got street dance, as they keep calling it in the film, or b-boying, breakdancing, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the film, when Turbo, Kelly, and Ozone perform at the audition, and he says "Ozone, street dancer," and starts stripping off his suit. I think it's an attempt to legitimize hip hop as an authentic culture, as something to be taken seriously, as seriously as Franco's establishment dance troupe. So in many ways, I think it's a tension between white and black dance, with whiteness being constructed as the status quo, the norm that breakdancing seeks to disrupt in a way. And there's this great scene when Kelly confronts Ozone at Venice Beach. He takes her to see that disabled guy dancing with crutches, and he's saying, like, look at his face. And the guy's grinning from ear to ear. And Ozone's like, that's dancing. So there's this binary between, I think it's about class. I think it's about music from the streets and music from what we might call high art. Sorry, dancing from high art. So you've got like Franco's like jazz troupe, if you like. So at the end of the film, it's called Street Jazz, isn't it? The show that they do. And so it's kind of collapsed into a hybrid form of dance. The name Street Jazz, indicating kind of a unification between new and old styles, between street and jazz. So I think there's a lot more going on in the film than critics of the film give it credit for. But what undermines it all for me is Breakdance 2 starts, and it's like, I thought there were stars now.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one for so long, Breakdance 2. Breakdance, the first one was definitely the superior film, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember much about Breakdance 2. I remember the song where they rehashed, was it Tibetan Jam, made Combat? or is it Reckless? Then they remade Combat.
It's kind of both of them, isn't it? And the kind I mean, it's called Reckless Rivalry on YouTube, but I know it wasn't a real 12
It's
inch.
not a real 12.
I saw it on YouTube and it had Reckless Rivalry, and I went looking everywhere. And it was only when I got in touch with you and said, "Have you got a copy of this?" You went, "No, it's not real."
Yeah, somebody did it. I think it was one of the guys years ago. This goes back now to when everyone was on the electroempire.com site.
All right, yeah.
A thing, a great resource back in the day, back in the late 90s onwards. Social media sort of taken over from that now. But it was somebody on there, I think, some German guy did it. I could be wrong, but I remember people going, "No, it exists. The 12 exists." And we go, "Really?" And everyone was like looking for it. And then eventually we were looking at the label, and it had been mocked up. They had a really good job of making it look right. And the guy,
they did.
I think he even admits on there now that, I took the film and I chopped up the bits where I could do it, and then I took the original 12 and filled the gaps in, something like that. He's just basically cut it all together because the scenes change, I think, in the film, don't they?
Yeah,
they cut away, and the music cuts away. So he's done an amazing job on it. And for a while, everyone was looking for it, that track.
Yeah, amazing. What was interesting about speaking to Michael Chambers, he's written a new children's book called Little Boogaloo Shrimp and the Clean Sweep, which is published by Hudson Tone. He told us, Phil, that he wrote the book during the pandemic, but it's a great little book for all you Breakin fans. So we'll put the link in the show notes if you'd like to support Michael. He said he might be doing a few more, and the Clean Sweep, of course, referring to the famous broom swing, Phil.
Yeah, the broom scene.
Yeah, the broom scene. Sorry.
Yeah, with Tour de France, isn't it?
That was my entry to Electro, if you like. It was Breakdance the Movie.
Okay.
And so it wasn't the Street Sounds compilations. I was a little bit later than you. It was Tour de France, the Kevorkian remix.
Yeah. The best,
which we'll definitely be hearing in this episode.
Yeah, that's a great one. That is.
Yeah, so let's in the second part of the show we'll be listening to some great tunes, all of an old school variety. We don't do contemporary electro. That's Andy Barton on the main Bass Agenda show. Thanks to everyone for listening to Spacelab. We'll be back in a month's time with our second episode, featuring none other than Mr. Greg Bussard, also known as the Egyptian Lover. So we'll be taking a ride down the Nile. So stay tuned for that.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here's something that I have to do, you see. I'm programmed to jam for you, and there's no problem that I can't fix. Just drop some bass and put it in the mix. I'll make you dance, I'll make you sweat. The more you scream, the wilder I get. Pump that body, girl, that's the way. Turn me on, I'm your DJ. Higher, baby. Higher, take me higher now. Higher, a little higher, baby. Higher, now break it down. So chilling in the place to be. It's me, AQ, in Jam City. You see, I'm certified, so I've got what it takes. A DJ that never makes mistakes. In the mix, I'm mission control. To take over your body and soul. Pump that body, that's the way. Turn me on, girl, I'm your DJ. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. AQ's here to rock your world. Put your hands in the air and feel the beat. rocking, can you feel the heat? The whole house is jumping to the hip hop beat. Say the word, I'll drop a new mix.
The UK is great, and I say that respectfully because, you know, if you really think about the hip hop timeline, I was never titled hip hop. In the beginning, MGM musicals, One, Singular Sensation, West Side Story, they took it upon themselves to say, look, I think we have a new street version of West Side Story. West Side Story was a musical, but because we had electro rock and TKO and we were battling and we had the Puerto Rican guy, it was loosely West Side Story in Breakin was West Side Story in MGM's eyes. Then when I did the broom dance, that was a really loose tribute to Fred Astaire. So the thing is, as that went out and became part of hip hop royalty, you know, the thing is, Beat Street and Breakin really brought hip hop to the masses. And New York lived a certain way, but in California, we had Hollywood. It's all theater. So we had the streets, we had the Broadway, we had everything that Hollywood always goes big, Tinseltown, you know. It's MGM, you gotta go big over here. Hey, right? So get in the dance. So I really feel that it's important for me to give United Kingdom respect because while all this wonderful stuff was going on in the States, we went to the Cannes Film Festival. Cannes Film Festival, we debuted our film at the Cannes Film Festival. So all of Europe was there like, hey, voulez-vous c'est toi? Hey, how you doing? Bonjour. You know, I mean, everybody, I mean, that's an international way station, right? So as we were there at the Ritz-Carlton, and we were there with Cannon Films, Menachem Golan, Yoram Globus, they go bigger, Shalom, you know, Cannon Films. The thing is, everybody was selling their movies, and we were the first crossover street dance movie that had an MGM kind of glamour as opposed to streets. Somehow or another, the Europeans and the United Kingdom really understood, okay, Breaking from New York is this picture, but these guys are showing all races, all different nationalities, dancing on the hard streets of LA, getting along and working together with diplomacy through dance. That's in a nutshell what Breaking was. It wasn't about like the other movies that came out in the 90s are real deep. Yo, man, hey, in the West End, the boogie, yo, it wasn't really that strong, like, what's up? It was more peaceful. So I have to give respect to United Kingdom because you guys are very sophisticated over there. And we're not going to stand for your rubbish. So the thing is, it wasn't. It's funny. It's very true. British people are very sophisticated. And if it's rubbish, and they'll tell you. So I was very honored when we had a screening there and we got a chance to be on Top of the Pops. We had an interview at the Top of the Pops here. Body popping. What is it like? So, total pretty. I went on Kings Road, Piccadilly. Yeah. You know, we got a chance to go to the Hippodrome. It's totally hip, yeah. And it's interesting because you all have a very sophisticated way of looking at art. And it's interesting because Beat Street, Wild Style, all these movies came out. And our movie, somehow or another, was good enough to be shown at the Prince Charles Cinema.
This is no ordinary life.
when the word boogaloo hit the masses in the 60s, Boogaloo, look at Ringo Starr, back off Boogaloo, yeah. He wrote a song, Back Off Boogaloo.
Okay.
Ringo Starr, nice the Beatles. And that was a hit song, right? Lucy in the sky with time. So the Beatles, yeah. So when they made Back Off Boogaloo, that word went into international orbit. Then James Brown had Boogaloo Down Broadway. And then as we started getting into jazz, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, do the Boogaloo, the Cuban Boogaloo from Cuba.
Right.
Celia Cruz, do that Boogaloo. So Boogaloo was a form of expression in music and in dance. So here we go. So as I started dancing and coming into dance after the disco era, I mean, disco changed everybody's like John Travolta, the boogie, staying alive, Bee Gees, staying alive. So Mars, Barry, I gave you. So the thing is, that disco went into harmony with popping and the boogaloo, because as people were doing disco dancing, you go back and you see some of the footage of the clubs, Top of the Pops, whatever. There was people doing Marcel, miming the French mime, and then experimenting with the robot. Even if it was very slow, they still disco, the robot, and pantomiming kind of intertwined. So as that started, really, people that were club kids, the West End, we're going to go to the clubs or the pub. Yeah. That was like a religious thing. I mean, you lived in the clubs. Clubs kids were very vibrant. There was a lifestyle. So in that whole circa of dance, fashion, and music, after disco, the robot, and popping came out, people started doing the boogaloo. So boogaloo, the boogaloo dance, it got really popular, the term boogaloo, as far as dancing, on the TV show Soul Train. The Soul Train. So Chicago, Don Cornelius had Chicago Soul Train, and then it moved to Los Angeles. When Soul Train moved to Los Angeles, now boogaloo and popping had a stage, because there was a lot of kids from Los Angeles. If they didn't do anything else in their life, they had their little 15 minutes of fame on the Soul Train line, and you would see some of the best popping robot displayed, right, of these unknown names, because they didn't give credit. You just watched it and you were like, wow, right? Interesting, because as that was happening, I never watched Soul Train because I was into something else. And plus I was young. And what the best thing that happened with me as a kid growing up in my city, I used to just watch people. I was a people watcher, I was like, I'm a people watcher. I used to just watch people, and I love life. So in my studies, by analyzing people, how they moved and just things in motion, I started mimicking people. It's almost like pantomiming life. And so if somebody moved strange, I would, people are strange. When they're strange, faces look ugly. Women sing with, when you're strange, right? The door. Yeah. I started analyzing how people move. Now people were clapping, going, this guy's really cool. Now I had a little shtick, a little show. They're like, hey, Michael Boogaloo, do something for us. Amuse us. Let me be amusing. So I would act like a robot, or if you watch HR Puff and stuff, I am the mechanical boy. I became the mechanical boy. I would imitate Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the stunning around. I would anything that was on television, Ray Harryhausen, Clash of the Titans. I mean, not the mythology, but I was more, because I was just a kid, so I was more into the science fiction motion of trying to move like a claymation stop motion character. Ray Harryhausen.
Like the skeletons and sense, stuff, right? Like that. Yeah. I love it. So as
I just started studying that, my moniker was Boogaloo Shrimp, because back then people would chat, you would have a crowd of people, the homies, and people, if you had a really good song on while everybody was dancing, there was always this John Travolta type, like if you seen Saturday Night Fever, John Travolta walked into a club, Tony Manero, he's just dancing over here, it's Brooklyn. and everybody's dancing. And when he came to that club, they're like, watch out. And he did his thing, right? There were a lot of people who were the best dancers in clubs, even in the Hippodrome. People would be like, whoa, you know. So there was always that one or that one person or that one girl that took over the whole club. So my whole thing was when I went to a dance, people would go, you know what? Boogaloo Shrimp. And they're like, yeah, get Shrimp to Boogaloo. So my sister was like, wow, you know what? They're chanting for my little brother. Come out. Let's see what you got. It got to be so big that my sister got me a leather jacket. She went and got, over here in Los Angeles, we had a printing center so that you wouldn't have to talk to people, because I mean, in a club, it's pretty loud. Hey, what are you saying? I don't know what, and if you said something wrong, you probably would get into a fight, right? What'd you say? No, I didn't mean it. Ow, he's killing me. No, the thing is, so instead of, to avoid conflict, you just had your own banner. This is my name, right? It was like sign language. I don't know fighting the peace. All we are saying, right? So the thing is, I had my name, Boogaloo Shrimp, on my jacket. So if I dance, I turn around, they go, oh, yeah, that's Boogaloo Shrimp. And it was in Old English letters. So my name got very popular. Like, who is this little guy? You know, I mean, the Boogaloos on Soul Train were like 5'9", 6 feet guys. I'm only 12, 11 years old, but I had a style of a grown man. So they're like, he's a little one, the Boogaloo Shrimp. He's opposite. He's a Boogaloo Shrimp.
So what year was this? What year did you get the name?
This is probably like 1979, because if you look at 1978, Star Wars, George Lucas presents Star Wars, you know, Star Wars, The Bionic Man, all the science fiction stuff, disco, but then 79 was like literally the last year of disco. 79 was the last year of disco, because 1980, crack that whip. Mark Mother's my break. I mean, the 80s sound came in like lightning, like grease lightning. So disco really kind of went, and we were into Depeche Mode and all these electron EDM. Synth pop came in big, right? So for me, I had already started learning pantomiming and robot and boogaloo, a little bit of boogaloo, but I mastered my style by 1981. So by 1981, my name, people were like, hey, if you want to see somebody dance, that guy, the Boogaloo Shrimp. My moniker was Boogaloo Shrimp, but it's interesting because it's almost like now that they have mixed martial arts, somebody just says they're a fighter, they could do all different styles under that title. So as a dancer, when they called me Boogaloo Shrimp, people were surprised because I could do this style, I could do that style, and I was already combining styles, so people couldn't figure out like what is his style, which is really cool because that's when you're really a master. If somebody cannot beat you, how are they going to beat something that they don't understand?
You got to chill. Microphone. throw down.
Kraftwerk and a lot of the music, if you were a DJ back then, people know one thing about crates and the DJing. A lot of those things, those songs that were B-sides and maybe, you know, if they were LPs, they had the A side and the B side, and that was it. This was before people started scratching. The DJs would flip and spin those records to keep the people on the dance floor. So what I was able to do, me and a group of people, you talk about adapting. Not every club was like playing like the Soul Train music, but we still had to have fun, right? So me and a handful of people from California, we said, okay, look, we're gonna learn from our community. A lot of us went to school with people that were surfers. They're like, yeah, man, hit the waves, man. Boogie, dude. Country people, yeah, boot, scoot, and boogie. Well, you know, I mean, people from all over. So as we were interchanging culture, we were interchanging music. Okay, I mean, if it was Jewish people, we'd be Chava, Nagila, Chava, like, you know, just you know, como televo, whoever we were around, we would adapt to. So when it got to popping and the dance styles, I mean, obviously New York has Puerto Rico, you know, Huepa, you know, the Boogie Down Bros. Those were Puerto Ricans, you know, and they had that whole Latino huevo. So we had to kind of interchange and learn the lingo and learn the rhythm. Same thing with the other styles. And so for me, adapting to other music really helped me become more than the stereotype. If you just said Boogaloo, they'd be like, okay, Soul Train, okay. No. Yeah. I was always disarming somebody that already had me figure out, because they're like, wait a minute, how is he dancing to Depeche Mode? You know, can you see the world in my eyes? Dude, if anybody hears World in My Eyes by Depeche Mode and they know anything about popping, Kraftwerk had uno, dos, tres, cuatro. And then Kraftwerk had Trans, Euro, Express, dun, dun, and then it sounded robotic. Trans, Euro, Express. Everything was always resonating with the dance. Meaning, if you are a mechanical man, you have to have mechanical music. So Art of Noise, so I was always looking for the perfect beat in music. If I was at a club and I heard, you know, how does it feel? You know, I mean, Blue Monday. If you heard something like that, I mean, Young Guns. Yeah, mama, get at it. I mean, come on now. Yeah. Those beats. I mean, if you were moving in time to that, you became a master on the dance floor, and you choreographed yourself, because those were some serious songs. Some of them were 3.5 minutes long, or if you had the extended version, you were working up your cardio, and there was no Red Bull. You're like, ah.
This is a promise and not a threat. I'm gonna make you dance and make your body sweat. You have no choice. My beat is gonna make you move. So get into my nasty groove.
I planned this particular phase in my life, and even though you strive for perfection, you're never gonna get perfection, but you can get close. So I said, okay, instead of competing like a title fighter, if you already got a belt, why are you gonna fight to be a champion, right? So I've always said to myself, what am I gonna do in my latter years instead of trying to regain my childhood or my youth and compete with these younger people, which, I mean, with gravity and with age is impossible. So I said, okay, I've always respected educators. So as I got into educating, even before the COVID, I was looking at some of my former people who were in my alma mater, my alumni of dance teachers who had passed away and who, maybe had injuries. And then when they tried to dance, people were like, no. This was a champion, but because they had limitations, when they tried to go out like a fighter, people were like, nah, you lost it. So I was like, you know what? Instead of ending up like a dump truck or a bunch of rubbish, I was like, let me use my mind. Very, very true. have a certain style. So does Bruno and Popping Taco, who work with Michael very closely. And anybody that knows dance can see our styles in Michael. Mr. Jax is very true. Only people who know art and motion, you can see where I'm going with this. The student learns from the master, and then you have the master's techniques. Even if you develop your own system, you still have the foundation. And so that's the only card I've ever played because you cannot fight a machine that I mean, Jeffrey Daniels is in every book. So I said, okay, why, even if I knew I was telling the truth, because I was on a world tour with this guy and Michael wrote We Are the World. I was in All Night Long with Mr. Richie. If you really think about it, Lionel Richie doesn't dance. So that was 1983. But when him and Michael Jackson wrote We Are the World, when they wrote that song, Michael was exposed to us. When I say us, me and Bruno Falcon. Not Shabadoo, but me and Bruno Falcon. If you look at Bruno's Electro, if you look at Bruno's style, and you look at mine, there you have it. Because Bruno had that, I mean, he's in Smooth Criminal. He had the snap. He had that, he had that real, that bang. what was Michael doing in bad? Bang! I mean, he was snapping hard. But my style was more animation, and claymation, and then the smooth, my gliding. So the thing is, Mr. Jackson was very, very clever. He used, most champion fighters, they have different people that they learn from. If they learn from different, they are like a super champion, because Michael was like, wow, he had Bob Fosse. He used to watch videos. The MJJ Estate Library, all Michael did in his little private abode was watch videos, even at a theater in Neverland. So what was he doing? Training without somebody saying, I'm going to call my lawyer because I clocked in at 9 a.m. and Mr. Jackson didn't pay me. No. He didn't have that. All you had to do is just watch videos of free enterprise. So he would watch videos. Okay, so here we go. When it came to him mastering the style of popping, he was so brilliant. Not only did he already know the robot, look at Dancing Machine. Dancing Machine, his robot was really fast. It wasn't slow, it was just really fast. But he got a taste of freestyle dance. Once he started learning that robot, as the 70s ended, we started getting towards 1983 when I was with this guy who he wrote We Are the World with. That was a whole different ball game. I actually changed my hairstyle because and then anyhow, it's very true. I think the Jerry curl was everything, right? So for me to see that man develop was amazing. I was practicing balancing the broom on my hand, just messing around. And it's all gravity. It was never magic. It's just science, gravity. Matter of fact, before COVID, they had the broom challenge. It was millions of people worldwide were trying to do what NASA showed about gravity. You know, it's all science. So the thing is, I was messing with gravity by balancing the broom on my hand. And it was during the break of the filming, and the producers were looking at each other going, wait a minute. This guy, if he could put the broom upside down, I mean, if he could flip it and make it look like it's just floating in his hand, we probably have a scene that's close to Fred Astaire's Dance with the Coat Rack. Because you got to remember, MGM already knew Fred Astaire's work. So Fred Astaire did a dance. I don't know the name of the movie, but there is definitely a film where Fred Astaire's dancing with a coat rack, just dancing around with a coat rack, and it's a brilliant thing. So they're like, oh my God, if this guy can pull off dancing with his broom, we have a homage loosely to Fred Astaire. Sure enough, they had a prop guy get a drill bit and drill a small hole through the broom, put fishing string on my hand. So with a whole bunch of edits, as we did take after take, they were able to edit and go, wow, we got a dance solo that's off Broadway, pre-CGI, no green screen. This guy's like making, I mean, if you look at it, people always dump on it. We saw the string, but that was a theatrical piece in a film. They even slowed it down so people go, wait a minute, what is that? They weren't even, that was just creative editing. But you know what? To this day, I've seen Dave Chappelle, I've seen artists, I've seen a lot of parodies with that scene. And you know what? I just thank God Almighty and the people that hired me, because we all had no idea how much that scene would have meant to dance, meaning hip hop dance, street dance. Now that's the Olympics. With popping, people were used to seeing people on the cardboard and the boombox, but now I'm doing a theatrical piece in a film. So this was like a theatrical piece where I was not using a stuntman. I did my own stunt. No. So, you know, now we have kids that have special effects on TikTok and YouTube and really cool lights, but you know, they just use a cheap prop, good editing with the fishing string. And when the producers decided to make a movie, they needed to get the right music for the dance. So it's just like when you see Beat Street, you might not know breakdancing, but you want to get out there because you feel it. So when you see me dancing, that song from Kraftwerk was a club hit underground. You got to remember, Kraftwerk was an underground band. They were like Depeche Mode underground, and they didn't do music videos. So if you knew their music, they were really huge underground. And so as the producers were listening to the music that we listened to, I don't think they liked the song Numbers, because Trans-Euro Express, that was very slow. It's a slow song. It's very slow. Numbers, uno, due, tres, cuatro. Numbers faster, but Tour de France, that one is, it's faster than both of those two songs. So I think the producers realize, okay, you know what? This guy, he's exerting so much energy. If you look at the beginning, it sounds like your respiratory problem, because it sounds exhausting, right? I want to breathe. Tour de France was the ultimate song for that scene, because Turbo was exhausted. In fact, this is funny. This is really funny. The producer said, look, let's let him do his dance and then come from dancing into the store to do the scene. They didn't realize I needed time to breathe. So the one scene, when I finish dancing and I come in, that's very real. If you listen very closely, I'm out of air. Ozone goes, are you finished? I'm like, yeah. You want to come see for yourself? I can barely say that because I'm out of air. You want to come see for yourself? I thought I was going to pass out. But it was real, huh? You can hear my voice. You want to come? Radiotron was not really a club. It was a hip hop youth center, like YMCA, or a place where people after school could hang out. If you really look at Radiotron, Carmelo Alvarez, this is ground zero Los Angeles, not South Central, but Los Angeles by the Bonaventure, downtown LA. So that's pretty much ground central, because you have South Central, you have East LA, you have San Gabriel, you have a lot of different surrounding counties where Radiotron was. So this wonderful man, Carmelo Alvarez, he said, you know what? All these kids have too much time on their hands and they could lose their life or get into trouble. Let me make a place where they can exchange graffiti. There's no drugs. They could, learn how to listen to different music. They could maybe make connections for people to show them another life. Maybe they can meet people that live by the beach, and if things work out, they can go surfing. Yeah, he was trying to make a cultural interchange, and he did it, because with music and with dance, it was like a way station. There were no guns, there was no gangs. It was unheard of. People were like, wait a minute, this is downtown LA? And it was the early 80s. We're talking like 80, 81, 82. There was a lot going on, but that was like a safe haven. So for me, being my age, most of the places that I was allowed into, they were either daytime events or they were clubs that were under 21 that served no alcohol. I could see people that were my age, and I met other dancers. And over here in East LA, when I say East LA, if anybody knows, if you have a GPS map, Los Angeles, where the Bonaventure and where the SoFi Theater and the Coliseum is, that's one side. But East LA, over by the 605 and by the mountains, they had another group of music. A lot of the Latinos, they had a music called freestyle. So they had the lowrider cars, the cruising, the carnitas, the chile verde, the best food. And so when people danced in East LA, it was a totally different thing, because they took the dance very serious. If you were good or your crew was good, it wasn't about fighting, but it was more about a social status. Like, okay, you know what? Now you got kudos, or you can get into places VIP. And this is once again, it was underage, because these were high school dances. So we had Pioneer High School, El Rancho, you had Banning High School, Long Beach Poly. A lot of the high schools, a lot of the kids said, okay, we're going to have our own dances during the daytime, or at somebody's house, or a safe place where there's no shooting or game, and have the best of the best from different cities come to battle each other. That's what took me 0 to 60, because pretty soon people were like, wow, your group or you guys are the best in this whole county, the best in this district. The next is the skies. If you're the best in the county or the best in the region, now it's like a fighter. If you're the best in that whole area, you're the best of the best, right? So eventually, I've got to be known in my own region to where they had a gigantic convention in Long Beach. Uncle Jam's Army, it was like a funk convention, like the raves, the EDM. It was like a mashup, trance, dubstep kind of thing where all the club kids came to one place, but they were all poppers or no breakdancing. It was all poppers from all different boroughs. I saw earlier footage of Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee went to a convention and showed his style. He didn't have to go to the conventions after that because he came up with a certain technique and everybody knew who he was. So for me, I'm not comparing myself to Bruce Lee. I'm just saying as a dancer, I went there only once. But everybody who was everybody in dance underground, they heard about my name because people were like, back then there was no Facebook. So the thing is, street cred was a big deal. So that word OG, I mean, you know, a lot of the older veterans of dance or the older guys of the city, if somebody listened, they were like the elders, the storytellers. They would tell the young people, well, guess what I saw? People would sit around and they would tell stories at a park, whatever. My name, they're like, man, there was this guy at this convention, man, Boogaloo Shrimp. They were like, what? Boogaloo Shrimp. So there were people, they were headhunters. They were looking for me because if you had a name, they wanted to take you out, like with dance. So like, you know what? I got to take his name because if somebody beats you, you no longer were it. That was the it guy. So it was like fighting. So I had a lot of people wanting to challenge me because my name kept coming up. So I was forced to go up against some masters. I had to put my skill up against masters. Anybody knows anything, you got beginners, intermediate, and then masters. I became a triple master in dance because I went against masters. So the thing is, I became a grand master in dance because I went up against masters. And the masters put my name out and said, look, this is the guy. You used to be my teacher, but I like this guy. So I was taking people's students. You got to say it with his voice. Greg Broussard. I'm a beat coach. Boom.
Hey, baby doll, there's a new guy in town. I'm rocking, girl, I'm shocking every chick around. There's no one that can hang, cause my hands are so quick. Doing tricks on 2 turntables, baby, I'm so slick. And my beat goes boom, 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 boom. I live in LA, there's lots of catch action there. Say freak menage a trois. Come closer, dear. Let's pretend you're a Ferrari and I will drive. I'm gonna show you why Egyptian lover is so alive. And my beat goes boom, 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 party's so hearty, see the sweat on your face. Baby, I'm tough, I'm rough, I'm so unique. I've got the baddest jams around. You little freak, freak this. that's hot. Surely gonna be the best one Earth's got. I just wanna rock and make you free, cause I am the creator of this beat. Vinje in pauze zijn en pauze zijn en badaba. Vinje in pauze zijn en pauze zijn en badaba. Wie weet pauze zijn en pauze zijn en badaba. Wie weet pauze zijn en pauze zijn en badaba. A better land with who else but your genius, Egyptian. I'm your Egyptian lover, baby. I'll treat you right, fulfill your fantasies night after night after night. All I ever wanted to be was with you. All the love you given me, I don't think it's true. Don't you remember the nights with me staring at the moon and you?
If you look at All Night Long and the Lionel Richie All Night Long tour, there's footage of myself, Popping Taco, and the late Shabadoo. We were Lionel Richie's dancers. So we were already in Lionel's camp. Once we were doing all that greatness, and then of course, the word got out in Hollywood that I was working with MJ. A lot of that stuff was underground, but usually the industry has industry insight. So obviously I already had street cred, and I had already had my name as a seasoned dancer. The wonderful thing about that audition with Breakin, when we were brought in, they brought a lot of people in. Usually when people do a film, if anybody knows about casting, they pair people up and they film your reading to see how your chemistry is. We weren't actors, but we had the street lingo and we were friends. I got a kick out of it because I was on tour 9 months with Shabadoo and all these guys. And so, usually you get to know people by hanging out with them. So we had a chemistry, and the studio went, wait a minute. These two, look at their interaction. We got ozone and turf. Look at the way they talk. Look at, he's a little punk brat. Matter of fact, the best thing somebody said, they said, wow, you know what? They're like the hip hop Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin. I was like the nutty sweet. And he was like the Dean Martin, he's the ladies guy. Hey. They were like, wow, look at the chemistry. The thing that the studio and the producers had to figure out, how are we going to get these guys to deliver lines? They're not actors, but pull it off. And sure enough, they had a guy coming around with a recorder. I think it was a Tascam recorder from Radio Shack. And they were just recording how we would interact and how we would talk. And they were able to develop scenes. So they were like, okay, look, you guys are going to be at Radiotron. There's the rival dancers over there. You got to say, okay, well, you know what? We'll get those fools, say something. So they actually, a lot of that stuff was improv and off page. They grabbed the best stuff and made it work. If you look, my comedy, everything was improv. They're like, okay, Turbo, you're going to go to this place and you're going to get disrespected. It's blatantly in your face that you don't belong there. You're going to feel it. They don't want you there. What are you going to do? So I was like, oh, you want some pig cheese? And they're like, he's one of those guys that spins on his head. Coming down, every reply that I had in there was improv. They go, okay, look, I didn't even know what gay was because I was underage. I don't think people get it. I was a label, right? But the guy who, Phoenix Newborn, he was gay, but they didn't throw it out there. They just said, okay, look, this is Kelly's friend. If it's her friend, just deal with it, right? So they go, okay, look. You're going to go to Venice Beach and she's going to introduce you to his friend. He has a nickname. How are you going to respond to his nickname? Lucinda goes, this is my friend, but we call him Cupcakes. And I'm like, Cupcakes. You see the innocence of that? Improvisation was, they were like, okay, react to this and make it fun and be neutral and show respect. So all through that movie, every line that I have, everything we were showing respect. I even showed respect to Lucinda. I mean, instead of saying something about her color or her being the girl who was upper class, only thing I ever said was, she ain't no street dancer. She knows nothing about what we do. But that wasn't disrespectful. But everybody got that. Turbo was like, no, she doesn't fit in our world yet. But once I realized that she was not a threat, then we're like, ain't nobody. And we start working together.
waiting for you. It's been so long. I knew just what I would do when I heard your song. Fill my heart with goodness. You gave me freedom. You knew I could not resist. I needed someone. And now we're flying through the stars. I hope this night lasts forever. Ain't nobody loves me better. Makes me happy. Makes me feel this way. Ain't nobody loves me better. I wait for nighttime to bring you to me. Can't believe I'm the one. I was so lonely. I feel like no one to real. I must be dreaming. I want this dream to be real. I need this feeling. I make my wish upon a star and hope this night will last forever. Ain't nobody loves me better. Makes me happy. Makes me feel this way. Ain't nobody loves me better. Ain't nobody loves me better than you. First you put your arms around me, then you put your charms around me. I can't resist this sweet surrender. Oh, my nights so warm and tender. Staring into each other's eyes, and what we see is no surprise. Got a feeling most would treasure, and a love so deep we cannot measure. Ain't nobody loves me better. Can make me happy this way.
One of the things about Shabba-Doo, he was part of one group of people that just stayed in one or two dance styles. That was his thing. He would do the whacking, which he was on tour with Madonna, voguing. You know, he was in Who's That Girl? So his thing was like a loose jazz, the whacking, you know, the voguing, and then locking. He stayed with that. Other artists after him were all styles dancers. And I don't think he agreed with the Olympics because he didn't break dance. He never even really got into breakdancing like we all did. So I think he kind of didn't really understand, you know, like how is that going to come about and how that blossom into being impacting the world. The best thing that happened with him, and I spoke to his son, Vashon Quinones, and his manager, Robert Bryant, they got him a street sign. They got him a street sign in his own hometown. When people see that street sign, he was a legend dancer that went from the streets to the stage of Soul Train. But that opened the door for other pioneers. Ice-T got a star on Hollywood Boulevard. That was for rapping and film. I think Shabba-Doo and anybody else, I'm hoping somewhere in life, it's God's will, that somebody will do something with me to open up doors for popping in all styles. Because I'm an all styles guy. I would give respect to the pioneers, Rocksteady, New York City Breakers, or all the foundation, but also I could make a fair analogy to novice and people who don't know what a wave is, or what an up rock is, or the simplicity of it, you know, and help fill in those gaps to where if reporters needed to find any more, I mean, I could probably drop out some names of people who are alive that Shabba-Doo would have spoke of, you know, and give them a little love. So yeah, you know what? Obviously you could hear the love and respect for his legacy. Best thing I did for that man and his surviving kin in his family is when he did pass away, Variety magazine, they asked me to do an interview right after. That was the only interview I wanted to do, just because I felt like, okay, well, you know what? Everybody needs to know this and not have it saturated or broken down or this is that. I mean, obviously, even Prince and Morris Day, they had differences. Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth had differences. Every group, you have differences, but at the end of the day, forgiveness and water under the bridge, you know. And so I was never one of those guys that harp on bitterness or whatever. And I leave it at that. Even with Mr. Jackson, I don't call him Jacko. With Mr. Jackson, I never harped on his personal issues or things that were in media, but his contribution to dance and music, that's all I really care about, because Michael Jackson influenced a lot of great artists, and not in their personal life, but in their music and their dance life. And so, on that premise, I hope that even Pop and Taco, Bruno Falcon from Long Beach, one of his choreographers, I hope other dancers who seek out street dance choreography or understanding foundation will look at Shabadoo and Bruno Falcon's legacy to maybe learn something that maybe they can't find in a school.
They're not going to stop us now. Who's next? Ozone. Street dancer.
Look, I'm not going to stand for this. You must stop immediately. Now listen here, young man. Did you hear me? You must leave now. Look, I'm not going to stand for this. You stop. Stop right this minute. We are auditioning jazz dancers only. Stop this nonsense. Jim! Oh, God, there's more of them. Jim! Jim, get them out of here this instant. Wait.
I like the undertone of the thread of the movies because we did come from different worlds. Electro rock, they were like gang members. Look at their car. They drove electro. They weren't nice. They pulled out weapons. They have nunchucks. We're dancing and they pulled out weapons. So, in Strobe, if you look at them, they were kind of coming up like, they threw a rock, threw a can and broke a window while we're at a family gathering and working with kids. They're like electro rock. Remember they threw a can. It could have been a fight because when we came running after them, they wanted us to find them under a bridge and they were already posted up, ready to fight. And so we all looked at each other like, is this going to be a fight or a dance? They did have weapons. They pulled out nunchucks. That's like what they pulled out in the Game of Death, those nunchucks. So the thing is, I think the studio was like, okay, electro rock are not nice people. And they will fight if they need. Look at it in the club. They actually they got Ozone and they almost duked it out. So obviously the studio was saying, okay, electro rock, they don't really care about dance. They're ready to fight and they had weapons. And so I understood what they were trying to do. They were trying to say, okay, you know what? There has been gang members who are territorial, but they put their weapons aside to just duke out their differences with dance. So I think that they were trying to do like Beat Street. Yeah, I mean, Beat Street, there were actually people getting killed, and then Remote, right? I mean, they did that whole thing. That was, people weren't expecting it, but I think that the studios were trying to bring the seriousness of LA, but they didn't want to get too street because then they might have lost their family PG. But at the same time, they compromised hip hop authenticity because now people are like, oh man, Electric Boogaloo, they're whack, man. People that were really deep into like, Tupac and NWA, all this really hard 90s hip hop, they're like, man, those are busters. They ain't possible. But it's interesting because we were before Will Smith. Yeah. Will Smith's hip hop parents just don't understand. I mean, come on now. He was like, I mean, him, Vanilla Ice, the Fat Boys, a lot of people were crossover and they weren't really street. Even MC Hammer, can't touch this. Everybody was trying to show, okay, this is our hip hop. And we're not putting gang members down, but we want everybody. Kid and Play, ain't no hurt nobody. Everybody. Our hip hop was more kind of universal people. I don't think a lot of people got Electric Boogaloo because they were like, wait a minute, people in East LA with pastels. I mean, we're wearing pink and fuchsia. We're wearing MTV colors.
Combat! Attention! You have just entered a battle zone.
It's time for us to find out who's really the best with the freshest crew. No time for words, we're through with that. All Someone will win, someone will lose, but we must battle to decide. Keep his honor and his pride. We've got the moves, you've got the speed, we've got the power that you need. Experience will give you that, but the test is combat.
Combat. Combat. Combat. Combat. Combat. Combat. Combat.
Now this is it, no time to choke. This is a battle, not a joke. To win you must be hard, not soft. When you get on the floor, you got to go off. Use every move you learned in life. Dance is your weapon, not a knife. Pull all the tricks out of your hat. This is no game, this is combat.
Combat. Combat. Combat. Combat.
Now I've seen battles in my time that move so fast they make you blind. And with the talent, they made it hard to pick the best. So we would take them from their teams to find. Think this could be done? We'll separate, go one-on-one. Separate, one-on-one.
Combat. 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 Combat.
So when you battle, show no shame. Make other crews respect your name. Be fresh and hard, give them no break, and make them pay for their mistakes. Give them no slack, always attack, and never get caught stepping back. Be merciful, so when you're done, there'll be no question. Who won?
Combat. 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 Combat.
There's a lot of people in the background of Breakin and Breakin 2. Like if you look at the movie Breakin, the guy that choreographed and staged the actual scenes, his name is Hyman Rogers. Hyman Rogers was one of the original cast of West Side Story. So the thing is, MGM was like, whoa, we got an original cast member of West Side Story, you know, the Rita Moreno film. I mean, that was a big musical. So the thing is, they knew, okay, this has some credibility in the dance world because now we have a seasoned choreographer staging these dance scenes. So by Breakin 2, it's really interesting because if you look at Byron, the black actor, we need all the help we can get. We're gonna save miracles. This guy was in the movie The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds. So if you look at that movie, The Longest Yard, that guy Byron was in that movie. I always like how Electric Boogaloo has a connection with the Rocky movie when remember it's Sylvester Stallone, Ivan Drago. Hey! If you look at Rocky's movie when he's fighting the Russian Ivan Drago, I must break you. That the scene where Sylvester Stallone loses Apollo Creed, there's no easy way out. That's the mansion where Ozone and Turbo go to meet Kelly's family. Kelly and Kelly's parents. Hey, then it gets better. We found out that historic mansion belonged to Hollywood royalty Mary Pickford. That's the Mary Pickford mansion.
Girl, the way you walk, it just enthuses me. The way you love is so energizing. Girl, you spark a brand new star. Ooh, it feels so right to connect with you.
I remember when I met the late Roger Troutman. I went to a concert, Roger Troutman. I told Roger, I said, let me tell you one thing, sir. He goes, what's that? I said, thank you for coming out with that style of music. I go, because it's like a tailored suit. I mean, more bounce to the ounce.
Yeah,
I go, that funk, that certain sound that he had helped us progress as poppers. But I found out through the grapevine that Roger's sound wasn't his original sound. The singer, the rock and roll guy, Peter Frampton, shadows for so long before my eyes. If you look at his song, I want you to show me the way. In the beginning, Peter Frampton came out with that voice box. That wah wah thing. If you look at Show Me the Way, Peter Frampton was a really big artist. And when he introduced that sound, Roger was able to get that. I guess he was using a Moog, or I don't know if Roland was around, but the keyboard, the Moog, he had that. He had that tube, and make those sounds, and he created his own sound. But I just thought it was wonderful how I went back to Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton, you know, not just knee deep, she was gonna read it, then in the break, yeah, but never do, baby, mama, Bootsy, oh yeah, buy me a couple of, yeah, but never do, baby, mama. You know, Bootsy, him and Catfish, they used to play with James Brown, but Bootsy was the man. So that was like, we bump the funk, got at the bump, oh yeah, we bump the funk, oh no, sliding the family song, you know, I'm gonna add some bottle, dance to the music. I mean, a lot of that funk from Haight-Ashbury, San Francisco, thank you, that man. Funk, rock and roll, psychedelic funk, Bootsy Collins, a lot of that stuff, Isley Brothers, all that music helped form the funk dance soul styles and Soul Train. So then when the electro people, EDM, a lot of that electro on your side of the pond, across the pond, yeah, I could hear like New Order, How Does It Feel? Thomas Dolby, I mean, if you listen to Thomas Dolby and you listen to Depeche Mode, you know, some of that, Yaz. No up down the situation. Been a long time, been a long my time. Got to use them out. Move out, don't mess around. You bring me down. Those sounds, I mean, Art of Noise, that's dance music. So a lot of the funksters like Greg and people on this side, they were listening to what was happening across the pond, but able to make new songs with the bass and the snare. You can hear it. If it was a dance track, you can hear that's a universal beat, right?
Rip it.
My style was liquid animation. My whole thing was, even if I did my fingers, just trying to like speed up, slow down, kind of like what they're doing on TikTok where you do the slow motion stop. I was doing that way back then. Plus, I mixed my style with ticking. So my every time I would move my neck or my arm or something, you can actually see the rivets connect. Click. You know, to document my signature style was on a show called Family Matters. Steve Urkel. Did I do that? I love it. Well, here's the thing. If you look at that robot, and it's on YouTube and Apple TV, if somebody gets it on Apple TV, I'll get residuals. No, Warner Brothers took a chance on me doing a Terminator version, an Arnold version of Steve Urkel, because Terminator 2 was on the big screen. Universal Studios had Terminator 2. That was a big box office thing. And so on the small screen, Warner Brothers said, wow, this is a really cool idea, a robot version of Steve Urkel. So they were like, wait a minute, who are we going to get to play Jalil as a robot? So it looked like Jalil, but I had to move the way I moved. So when I came into the audition, the producers were like, I mean, Warner Brothers, they spent a lot of money on they're like, and that was already a hit show. They told me, how are you going to convince us to hire you to play our star? I said, well, I grew up with Clash of the Titans and Ray Harryhausen, and they all looked like, what? They're like, yeah. I go, yeah. And then the director goes, okay, let me see King Kong on the tower when the airplanes are coming. I was like, I started doing like a stop motion kind of fade rate. They were like, whoa. Because they were thinking, wow, if this guy, there was no CGI, this guy's in a suit that's mobile, maybe he'll pull, and sure enough, boom. That episode, when this episode hit, the ratings went up the roof. Matter of fact, still in syndication, people are like, wow, because I had practiced so much in the early 80s and before the 80s to master my signature style, which is liquid animation. The difference between myself, Mr. Wave, and anybody else, even the guys on Soul Train, I was able to learn how to go smooth into robotics. So that same robot of Shields and Darnell, or, you know, the robot of the 70s, I was able to go from smooth to robotic precision to be good enough to be in a special effects TV show. And then I did Bill and Ted's and some other things. So my point is this, that surpasses battling, because now usually even a musician, if you're doing Gershwin or Mozart or Basie and you have a hit selling album, you're not a street performer anymore. So the thing is, no, you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So for me, I was always looking for a bigger horizon for my steps instead of battling, because usually if you're battling in a club, the light's very low anyways. And I mean, the only people who see it are the people right up close. So they see the details. So I was always thinking bigger, and yeah. I'm glad that I didn't pigeonhole myself just to battling or a club. Somehow or somewhere, people made it seem like we battled Rocksteady. And I mean, come on now. There was no competition because they were the best breakdancers on the planet. Rocksteady and New York City Breakers and Dynamic, they were the best breakdancing crews on the planet, because if you think about it, they were so good. They did the Kennedy honors. They had stationery. As a matter of fact, they had a song and they had stickers. So they have money behind them. So when you have money and sponsors behind you, it's not bragging rights. You're the best because you've arrived. You went from the streets to the stage. I was learning everything that I could from Mr. Freeze. And he was actually the only one really that wanted to teach, because breakdancing was so new. If you knew a little bit of it, anywhere you went, you were the stars. Like, you could get in clubs free. you were just popular. You had bragging rights, right? So I learned as much as I could because I knew not only would it help me as a master dancer to be a better battler, battle people. And if somebody didn't know how to go to the floor, I beat them because now I could do things on the floor. But also, if it was a really serious breakdancer, I could go to the floor and then I could body pop and I'd still beat him because he couldn't pop. So I found it as a way of giving an answer to something in a challenge, right? Never knew how it would transpose on film, because if you look at breaking, when Turbo did his solo, I had all the different styles. I mean, I could breakdance, but my breakdancing and my popping was the combination that I was referring to with giving respect to New York. When we started working and doing film and music videos, they did Malcolm McLaren's and Gladys Knight's, a whole bunch of stuff. Make a long story short, for me, I always had respect for all those dancers because I realized we were the pioneers, almost like rock and roll. You got Jeff Beck, Delta, Chicago Blues. All those people made rock and roll. So with dance, I was like, wait a minute, these are my brothers and sisters in the arts. Why am I going to compete with somebody as we're on the brink of building an art form? A fighter fights, especially somebody with over the top testosterone. They'll fight and get knocked out because they're stuck on being the best. I always like making friends, but I always like learning. If there was something that I didn't understand, might as well go to school and learn. So the thing is, if I saw somebody with skills that I knew I didn't have, I would peacefully say, you know what, can we session? Can I jam with you? Usually, that's the best sparring session, is if you have another master that knows something that you don't know. Why are you going to challenge them and get beat up? They had Rock Creek Park, they had Cool Herc, they had Wild Style, they had the Boogie Down Bronze, all this stuff, the City Breakers, Dynamic, Rocksteady, everybody was doing their things in their boroughs over there and creating their style with the gazelles, the whole flavor, the sneakers. They had the way that the way that they dressed, the way that they talked, the way that they boogied. I mean, they didn't even call it Electric Boogaloo. In LA, it was Electric Boogaloo, but New York said, no, we do Electric Boogie. So if you look at some of those guys in Flashdance, Mr. Freeze, Normski, all those guys, when they're dancing, New York called it Electric Boogie. Matter of fact, they even have a song, Electric Boogie. Yeah, and then Malcolm McLaren, you know, 2 Buffalo girls going round the outside, round the outside. If you see that video, you could really see the difference in LA popping and New York popping because they were doing Electric Boogie, but yeah, at the same time, if you look at like Shaka Khan's video, I Feel For You, if you look at Breaking and Entering, the documentary, LA style was totally different. So for us, poppers and lockers, you know, Shabadoo, Rerun, the locking, Tony Basil, the locking and the popping was something that we had already mastered. We all had to, well, if we wanted to, we all had to adapt to the music. So when Rapper's Delight and when Curtis Blow, that music came out, myself and a handful of others said, okay, you know what? We need to start learning from New York. So I took it upon myself, and believe it or not, I was at Jeffrey Daniels' house with Mr. Freeze learning how to breakdance because the movie Flashdance was 1983. 1983, Flashdance hit the screens. I wasn't in movies. I was working with this guy. His all night long tour was 1983 and 84. So once again, while I was with Lionel doing all night long and dancing live, the movie Flashdance was on the screen. As Flashdance hit, everybody kept talking about, wow, did you see the breakdancers? Breakdancing hit. I mean, Flashdance, and what a feel. Everybody's like, well, I want to breakdance. I did. Everybody wanted to dance, right? Whether it was working out or doing whatever. And then the new wave sound. We said, okay, we're going to be left behind. So in the movie Flashdance, that one breakdance scene, it's just Normski was a little kid doing, Mr. Freeze had the umbrella and he did the backslide on concrete. So right after that movie, he made friends with Jeffrey Daniels from Flashdance. So the thing is, somehow or another, through, you know, back then it was no Facebook. So through one phone call and through one, matter of fact, it was a dancer named Sugar Pop De Silva. This guy was amazing because he knew how to pop, he knew how to lock, he knew a lot of different styles because I guess he had a passport. He was already flying to different places. So when he came to LA, he had a Stray Cats mullet, and then he had the ponytail from New York. Then he dressed like Robert Plant, you know. He had the ripped jeans, you know. I mean, he really looked like an international person, like would be in Kings Road. When he came on the dance floor, we were like, wait a minute, he could pop, he could lock, he had different styles. So we befriended him for a time, and he told us, hey, you know what, you want to see this guy? We all looked at the movie Flashdance. So this guy, Mark Limburger, he was like a ghetto superstar. We just seen him on a movie. So when we met him in person, we were like, what is this? So I got a chance to work out with him at Jeffrey Daniels' house. And that's where, if you see the poster Breaking, where I'm doing my arm feed, I learned from Mr. Freeze. Matter of fact, if you look in the movie Breaking, I didn't do too bad from what New York breakdance. I wasn't the best. When we talk about all styles, even in a fighting competition, you may not be a judo master or you may not be a karate master, but if you have one or two moves, you get by, right? So with dance, at that time, I did a lot of break dancing. This children's book, Boogaloo Shrimp and the Clean Sweep, and it's illustrated by Mr. Chris Dudley, and it's Hudson Publishing. So yeah, you guys can look that up on Hudson Publishing. But what was interesting, when we had the COVID, the world changed in the last 3 or 4 years, you know, with COVID and, you know, the wars and different, it's the tone of the world. And so I had a lot of time to reinvent myself, and it wasn't just about me anymore. I was like, wait a minute, you know, I became a grandpa. So I became more settled in my family life, in my personal life. And as an educator, I said, what am I going to do to help reinforce parents and help them work together? So this little guy is my story, but it's everybody's story who doesn't have a lot of resources, kids that don't have much money, maybe they don't have the latest phone, but you make something out of nothing. You use the best what you got. And so in this book, what's really interesting, the author was not able, I put the highlight. We highlighted Olympics, breakdancing being Olympics, since that's the first time it's announced. But in the book, there's kind of like an overview of all my credit. And it gives tribute to Shabadoo, it gives tribute to Coco, all these other people. Here, I'm cleaning my room and he's coming out. He's coming to say, hey, you know what? Can we come and go and battle? But I said, no, I got to do my chores. So the thing is, the moral of the story and the theme of that book is to help cool parents or grandparents that used to be retro or club kids to be able to share with their grandkids, like, hey, look, I used to do this and we used to do this. And, you know, parents have trouble with their kids doing chores, right? So you put your tunes on, you make the best of your area and you feel good. That's your swagger. Keep it clean, keep it moving. So, you know, it was one of those things that was dear to me. And it's almost, if you look at, this is almost, I mean, from 1984 till now, this is the 2024 Boogaloo Shrimp retro reinvented. See where I went from 84 to now. So that's the highlight of, you know, of the premise of the book and the value system of how kids that don't have a lot to do, their free time, maybe they're on quarantine or lockdown, they can put their tunes on, make the best of what they have. And also too, with breakdancing being announced and in the Olympics, I wanted to show that it didn't matter if you're black, white, or Hispanic or Polynesian, whatever. If you got talent, you just use what you have and be happy with what you got, right? Everybody all over the internet is celebrating the anniversary of hip hop, but this book kind of celebrates hip hop dance. See, people talk about the music, but once again, we're back to square zero. The celebration of hip hop dance is just as important. Now we got breakdancing, soul train, locking, popping, everything else, right? And it opens up the door for other pioneers that maybe you all will run into, to be able to have interesting interviews, right?
Well, that's all we have time for in this special extended episode of Spacelab, our first episode. Thanks to Michael Boogaloo Shrimp Chambers for spending time with me and Phil. We had a blast hanging out and listening to your stories. For the future, we have some great episodes in store for listeners. Join us next time to hear from another pioneer, electro musician, Egyptian lover. To finish off, here's a track from the rock band Queen. I'm always interested in the ways that electronic music intersected with other genres in the 1980s. And here we have Freddie Mercury using a vocoder on a track from Queen's 1984 album The Works, entitled Machines, or Back to Human. Until next time, stay freaky, everyone.
Machine.